Hi, welcome to Yellow's Talker Show. I'm TV LeBron. Today, my very special guest is Mr. Sean Tobias Ambriz. How you doing, sir?
Good, man. I'm good. Chilling.
Now, Sean is an Army First Sergeant and decorated veteran of Afghanistan. I don't know how long you've been in the Army, Sean.
I just hit 16 years in February.
16 years. Sean has one of those distinctions of not only being rewarded for his valor, but also getting the one medal we hope we never get, and that is the Purple Heart. So
Yeah,
I don't know how many times you were awarded that, but I hope you're doing good after that thing. So
yeah, I'm holding up.
so I wanted to have you kind of introduce yourself to my audience and just kind of give a quick brief about you.
Yeah, so my name's Sean. I'm originally from Los Angeles, California. Been in the military for 16 years. I joined initially just to do kind of 5 years, get out, go back to LAPD. But I enjoyed the job. I enjoyed going to war. I enjoyed putting the uniform on. So I stayed with it, and yeah, it's kind of what I do now. Married, no kids, two dogs, two ducks. So
Yeah.
yeah, living life.
Well, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for your service from one brother to another and continuing to serve. That is it's an admirable and honorable thing, even from one brother to another. You know, you're an author, and you
Mhm.
wrote a book about ghosts in the valley, where you talk about stories about your time in Afghanistan, but more so, you talk about your brothers. Before I get into that, I kind of want to go into the you joined in you joined into the thing. Is this something you wanted to do? Are you an infantryman or kind of how did
No, yeah. So I'm an MP. I've always been an MP because I wanted that law enforcement background so I can get out and, like I said, go LAPD. But I haven't really done that much law enforcement since I've been in. Just the way my career has kind of panned out. I was a medic my first deployment, and then we call it it's not a sniper, but it's like a designated squad marksman. Like you work with the recon platoon team. I did that my second deployment, as well as medic. So it's been a very abnormal career than what I signed up for initially. But yeah, but by MOS and trade, I am an MP.
how many times did they end up sending you out there?
Just twice. I did 2 years over there.
2 years over it. Well, that's not just that's a long time to be out there. And did you do Iraq and Afghanistan or just Afghanistan? Or
No, just
not
after
Afghanistan?
yeah, back to
Yes.
back. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean it is admirable. I lost a brother last year to a rare aggressive form of colon cancer who served in Afghanistan, Army dog. And yeah, make sure you watch out for that, my brother.
Oh yeah.
But you wrote this book, and I love that because there was for a long time I was kind of in the wind when I came back, and dealing with the stuff that you deal with when you come back and loss, etc. And it took me a while to find something productive. And you, while still in, you decided to keep going, and then you write a book. And not only do you write a book about your experiences, which is really hard to tell it's really hard to tell your story. That takes therapy, that takes time, that takes coming to grips with the things that happen. But you went ahead and did that anyway. Can you tell me about that book?
Yeah, I mean the book follows essentially my two deployments. I mean, it gives a little background about me, but I didn't want it necessarily be a biography memoir kind of thing. It's supposed to be I wanted to help put the MPs on the map. People give us a bad rap sometimes, and in Iraq and Afghanistan, MPs did a lot of good things for the war, and we're asked to do things that we're doctrinally we're not. I don't want to say trained, but doctrinally we just don't do. And so I wanted to tell those stories. I wanted to keep my brothers' names living on. I wanted to be a historian of the game and ensure that these battles are never forgotten. As the generations go on and learn of our endeavors in history books later on, I just wanted to make sure that my unit, my guys had a piece of that pie, essentially.
When you were over there, and I know that this happens a lot and it's kind of hard to narrow down, but can you talk about a situation when you thought, this is it, this is where it ends, this is where Sean Ambriz, this is it?
I mean, I have a lot of them. I have a lot.
There was one that did some extra puckering, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, so the book follows two main battles. One when I was a private, the second one of my second deployment when I was a sergeant, and both of them were pretty. I didn't think that I was going to make it out of there. But training kicked in, everything kind of just went with the flow. We knew what kind of needed to be done, and things just kind of happened. But yeah, I want to say, probably those two big battles. I don't know if you want me to get in detail.
Yeah, let's talk about it. I mean, whatever you're comfortable talking about it, because it took me a while to get there,
Yeah, so the first one was essentially, I mean, it's hard without going into great detail, but the synopsis, there was essentially a cavalry platoon that was up on a mountain. They were cut off by what we thought was one sniper. It ended up being three snipers that had a squad inside, two squads maybe, that maneuvered for them. The main sniper was a Czechoslovakian sniper that had I don't even know how many killed and wounded under his belt since the start of the war. He's hired by the Taliban. And essentially this cavalry platoon got walked into an ambush, and 7 NCOs volunteered to go up, which made me want to go up with them because at the time I was a medic. So the 8 of us volunteered to go up this mountain, and we were told, I don't say we were told misinformation, but because of the mountains in Afghanistan are very, they can knock your communication. And the information we were told, we thought it was 200 meters up the hill that they were stranded and cut off. It ended up being 2,000, and we had no water, no food, no medical equipment. And so it turned into this, long trek up this mountain where we're getting hit by snipers on both ends, because right behind us was Saw Valley, where bin Laden at the time was still alive and had a safe house. It's a very kinetic area. And we took fire all the way up this mountain. We ran into a team-size element crawling out of a cave that we had to frag this cave. I mean, it's this long trek up this mountain that essentially, once we got parallel with the casualties, it became, how are we going to get 175 meters in the open and grab the wounded, including my lieutenant who was killed wide out in the open. And we had to drop like a danger close smoke mission of white phosphorus. And me as the medic, I had to work on 4 separate wounded, an Afghan that was shot in the leg, another American shot in the arm, an interpreter shot in the shoulder, a squad leader shot twice in the kneecap, once in the mouth. Then I had to drag LT's body, and it just turned into this, I was like, again, I was the only soldier. And I had doubt that we were going to make it off the mountain. But my NCOs, they were just kind of formulating the next phase of the plan. They were never phased about what was being thrown at them. They were just like, okay, yeah, whatever. Like, this is what's going on. Let's figure out how to get out of this mess. And we maneuvered down the mountain a way we had not yet come up, because it was too treacherous to take the wounded down the way we had come up initially. And of course, Murphy's Law, NVGs weren't working, and a convoy couldn't spot us. There was no trail, so it was just literally, let's get to a ledge, let's kick a rock off. Is it 3 feet or 30 feet? Because we couldn't see how dark it was. And then we just fall off that ledge to the next one, and then we just keep going. And everything was going fine until one of the Afghan army soldiers decided to use a white flashlight, and all of us saw a village just lit us up.
Oh hell! They saw you coming down that mountain basically as soon as he lit that light.
Yep.
Oh,
So the snipers behind us, the 2 squads on our flanks converged on us, and the entire village across the river shot at us. So we got hit from all 4 sides. And that's when I started to black out of heat exhaustion. We were pretty lucky. One of the Kiowa helicopters, the pilot, he sacrificed himself in his helicopter. He essentially came down to enemy gun level and was using his guns, and he was firing into the village, and he was allowing the enemy rounds to penetrate his aircraft so they wouldn't hit us. So it was a lot of sacrifice that night, a lot of teamwork. That's when I saw this big red orange ball, this Russian-made B-10 recoilless rifle rocket just come flying at me. I got peppered with shrapnel on my shoulder, dislocated it, and then everything kind of got chaotic. The wounded and LT's dead body was in the far rear. The Afghans were in the middle, and then me and 4 others were kind of like this recon group that we were going to mark with chem lights, so that everyone can kind of follow our path. And then once all hell broke loose, I got separated. Me and this 1 NCO were by ourselves, and we were marking the way, and this F-16 came in, dropped down 2 500-pound GBUs, which was good, obviously, because people were killed. Yeah. But then it illuminated the entire area. So then Saw Valley saw me and this 1 NCO crossing this open plain, and they just lit us up. He fell off the mountain one way, I fell off the other, and then I was by myself the rest of the night, just a private, trying to find my way down a mountain. Completely surrounded, had no leadership. But luckily I was able to find my way down, and we were able to extract everyone off the mountain that day.
Were you prepared when you were walking alone? Were you prepared to get captured, or were you like, no, they're not going to capture me?
I don't even remember what I was thinking. I just remember, I think the fear was so great that I couldn't believe that this was happening. And I remember just being so tired and so worn out. A part of it was I don't care anymore. A part of it was I just want the hell off this mountain. Part of it was freaking out, worried about everyone else, because me as the medic, my job is to ensure their safety. And so I'm worried about where everyone else is at. Part of me wants to turn around and go back up the mountain and find them. A part of me wants to go down the mountain and go get help and let my squad leader know. I think I just had a plethora of thoughts that were rolling through my head that I didn't really know how to comprehend all of it at the time.
You're going through this, you're getting out of there, and was that your first deployment, or was that your second?
No, that was my first. Yeah,
that was your first deployment. And then you come back, and then you go back for more. I know that there's some things that you can't really go into too much because of, that you're still active duty. But there was a way that the soldiers were affected a little bit by the withdrawal. Yeah. And without the political part, but just what was felt, by you, because you could talk about you. Yeah. What are your thoughts on how that all went down?
It was sad to see. We put a lot of work into that country, and there were a lot of good people that were left behind. There's obviously better ways that things could have been handled or whatever. I don't know the details, all of them, but like I said, just the significance and the similarities of the pullout of Vietnam and Afghanistan are very crazy. I was keeping in contact with my interpreter for my first deployment on Facebook for over the years, and he would sometimes send me like boxes from Afghanistan of like treats or like Afghan hats or clothes and shit like that. But like maybe I want to say it was like a month. It was like during the pullout time, maybe before, I can't remember, but around that time, Taliban found him and murdered him, and then posted his picture all over his own Facebook and stuff. So, that kind of sucked to see. These guys who essentially put their lives online too, and then not be given clearance to come to America, or however the visa system works. So yeah, it was hard to watch.
But as far as that interpreter, I'm sorry for that loss, because I know that regardless that they were part of your life in some way, shape, or form, so and helped you.
Yeah.
You wear I see you got your brothers on your wrist. Memorial Day is something that reminds me of Wilfredo Ramirez, a man and brother of mine who was taken way too early. All the experiences that we could have as men, he didn't get to go there because he was taken way too early. So I know that Memorial Day coming up means something to you, and I know you talk about this in your book, and you talk about your fellow soldiers. Can you speak to the ones that come to mind?
There's a lot. Mace, Tyler Parton, Powell, Richmond, Ryling. I mean, there's so many names, that I think of. I mean, that's why it's. I made a very, very early on in my career, I made a conscious decision that I was going to talk about these stories, that I wasn't going to be one of those veterans that used a blanket of alcohol or pills to hide behind, that I was going to talk about the stories. I was going to train my soldiers when I got back through my experiences. When we went out to the field, I would talk about things that happened in Afghanistan, or how to properly react to contact, wherever the case may be. One, because I said I wanted to keep the stories alive. And two, it was therapeutic for me. And three, it was training for my soldiers. And then you do that enough, anything in life, you get enough repetition, it becomes easy to talk about. So I don't want to say it's completely scabbed over and healed, but I think I've done it so much. I've done so many of these podcasts, and I've done so many event talks and the book, and so much over the years that I think it just kind of flows out the mouth, and I don't even think about it anymore. It's not until you really sit and ponder and think about the details that's when it starts to get to you. But even then, I've always been a big advocate for mental health and others getting help and talking about it and stuff like that. So
it was a lady at the VA, because I didn't know quite how to deal with the things that I was going through, and it was actually my wife who had done the homework to find out what PTSD was, and try to get me help. That is the reason why I went and started getting help. And it was a lady at the VA that taught me that telling that story, when you tell it, you could disconnect that part from it, and it actually heals you in a certain way, because you could tell the stories. And so when I saw I came across you. I was kind of like, I was fascinated by that, because you went in and made a book out of it. You went through trauma over there, and during your time in service, and you made something productive out of it. How do you? I mean, what is your counsel to a young soldier that is still dealing with that, or a vet that got out, they disconnected, and they're dealing with PTSD, or worst case, like so many, putting a gun in their mouth and saying that's it?
Yeah. Biggest thing is, like I said, just because I talk about the repetition and how that helped me, the biggest thing is just to talk about it. Go to seek professional help. I mean, it's nice to have supporting family and friends, but not everyone has that. I've always had good friends and family that have always supported me, and good leaders. But I also know that not everyone has that same thing, and it is harder for others who may not have that support group. So I would say for those individuals, they need to seek professional help and let those people help. And I mean, because I could talk to a vet all day and I could talk about my experiences and what I would do, but what I did may not work for another. And professional help knows so many other avenues on how to attack these things that I don't. That's exactly what I would tell vets is they just need to go. Don't be afraid to just talk about it. I mean, it's the stigma is that's old school army stuff. Like we need to get over that. So
And I was going to ask you, is the Army getting better about that? Because I know when I got out of the military, they said, don't check any one of those boxes. You do, we're going to keep you here forever. Just, go ahead and mark no, 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 no. And then that's it. You're gone.
no, the army's changed. They're very open about going to behavioral health. And I know people be like, oh, you go to behavioral health, it ruins your career. I haven't seen anything to prove that. Back in 2015, I applied to be accepted to go to an assessment and selection for a special missions unit. And I had gone to behavioral health prior to that. And it didn't stop me from continuing my career and stuff like that, or at least attempting those things. So I haven't seen anything that proves that you go to behavioral health and your career is ruined.
And you still managed to become first sergeant. So, I mean, that is not an easy feat to accomplish. It sounds like you're keeping that memory alive, and that is a wonderful thing. What are you doing now, other than you're still early or about mid career, but other than that the military side, what are you doing now?
Right now, I'm not really doing much. So I just left Fort Leonard Wood. I was there for 4 years, and I completed my first sergeant time there. And now that I'm at Fort Carson, Colorado. I have a pretty easy job here. Essentially, I'm in charge of like all emergency services on Fort Carson: fire, EMS, police. Like not like the main top guy, but I'm like the NCO advisor. And so I'm learning that world. But I'm taking this time when I am off and not at work to just be with family. I've been here since September, and when I'm off, I'm off. I come home, I lay with the dogs, I just chill. I don't go out, I don't drink. I've never even had alcohol in my life, so I don't go to bars. There's just no reason for me to. So I might take the dogs for a hike or go somewhere with the wife, but I just stay to myself and enjoy that time because I'm going to be moving to a new position in October, and it's going to
Yeah,
be busier. So,
the up tempo is gonna increase.
oh yeah,
But yeah, I I'm fascinated by what you do, and even as someone who served as well, um, because I know what goes into that. I know what's involved with that, and the piece that you give. I mean, it's rah rah, thank you for your service, but it's a lot different when you're in it and you understand that what that price really means, especially when you wear them. What that price for that service is. So, but thank you so much for coming on the show. I really do appreciate your time, First Sergeant, and I wish you the best, my brother.
I appreciate it. Thanks.